How did you
Sure.
get involved into the world of government contracts? Because it's not like common knowledge that is taught in schools or even business school at all.
I started when the market crashed in '07, '08 time frame. I was a realtor at the time, and I was going into the development space. The market tanked, and the rug got pulled from underneath us. And like a lot of people, there was nothing else going on. I was desperate, and someone told me about government contracts and billions of dollars. And so for me, being a young person at the time in my 20s, I was able to connect with a gentleman who was aware of government contracting, but didn't know how to access it. And so he brought me along and said, hey, if you can figure this thing out, we could be partners. And so I had nothing but time. I threw everything I had at it, spent every waking hour. I did absorbing all materials I could on this process. And we started winning some small projects. And so that was the genesis of how I got started.
In your experience, what are some of the biggest challenges that people who are entering into this space find as a hurdle?
They don't know their business. I think that our community is under the impression that having a certification is learning how to run a business. And it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think that I've found that the majority of people that I run into have no idea what's involved in running a business. And I can't teach that. I don't teach people how to run businesses. That's not what I do. And so if you can't tell me where you want to go, how can I tell you how to get there? And then the other thing is having poverty mindset friends and family.
Yeah.
I think that's been one of the biggest challenges that I've seen with people is that their friends and family, their immediate circle is poverty mindset.
Because sometimes, and you probably run into this, sometimes even if a person decides, hey, I'm going to invest in myself, I'm going to learn this government contracting thing so I can really grow a business. But then because of all those things that you just mentioned, it's really hard for them to get results.
They got to cut off their friends, families, and negative influences. Surround yourself with people that think differently, that are in that space. Join communities like the communities that we have with people that do this every day. Being there with people that are doing this, that are winning, and listeners, be encouraged by them, not by the naysayers that you hear on the streets.
Welcome in, everyone. I am Dr. Karwanna D. Irving here with the great Eric Coffie, who is the host of GovCon Giants. Now, he has the #1 YouTube channel and podcast teaching in the federal procurement or government contracting space. But let me give you my story on who Eric Coffie is. For me, like, he is the original. So way back before I even got started in this space, when I was still trying to figure out government contracting, there was only one face that looked like mine that I identified with that was talking about federal government contracting and how it can really help you to grow and expand a business. And that was Eric Coffie. There was one other guy, but of course we didn't identify with who that was. Sure. But Eric, you are I would say, I don't know if everybody's ever given you your props, but I'm going to say you're the godfather of federal government contracts. And it's such an honor to have you here and give value. So thank you so much for agreeing to be here.
Thank you for that. And I appreciate that. And I really do believe that overall, we've impacted the most people in terms of, because we have a ton of success stories, lots of people. And again, everyone's different, right? Everyone has different backgrounds and experiences. Right. We feel like we've done a great good to society as a whole. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of people don't know this about me. I'm going to die on this hill. So regardless of who comes in and out, the phases, I'm going to die on this hill. So we're digging in deep, maybe not publicly on social media wise, but we're digging in deep into the community wise, into contracts wise, into partners and bringing folks together, giving people that look like us more access and more opportunities than otherwise we've seen in the past they've had. So that's what we're doing. That's where we're spending a lot of our time and effort, not as much on social media as much as we did before.
Right. And I actually heard you speak on that one time when some years ago, you were like, I may not be all that great at this social media thing, but I know what I'm doing in the GovCon space.
Yeah, listen, right now through some of our partners and stuff, we just spoke at a big event in Virginia last week. And I don't know. I try to not use numbers because it throws off our community of people, but there were some people in there that had done some significant contracts over in Iraq and Ukraine. And so for those numbers, you can just imagine the size of the projects. Yeah. And so those are rooms that we're in with those type of people and trying to bring some of that down for folks that look like us. And
Yeah.
so that's what we're doing behind the scenes and hoping that it sticks and takes on with some people. Because, like I said, for me, I think it's great that you can sell products and you can flip TVs and things like that. But I really want to help people build long-term sustainable businesses that can keep and thrive even beyond their existence.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's like some of the projects are so large that small businesses just don't have the capacity. A lot of
Mm-mm.
don't have the capacity to do that, which is where definitely I see these things happening even in my community, even on the local level. Is small businesses don't have a chance unless
No,
someone gives them an opportunity to sub
right.
back and they build up from there.
Yeah.
But having an advocate like you in those rooms who's the voice, it's important to have
Uh,
that voice. Like, hey, some of this stuff can be broken down into bite-sized pieces
right.
for small businesses. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And we're having meetings with elected officials about this stuff.
yeah, yeah, that's
So
big.
we're having lots of meetings with elected officials about how to create more access to people that look like us.
Yeah, awesome. So let's take it back to your journey story. How did you
Sure.
get involved into the world of government contracts? Because it's not like common knowledge that is taught in schools or even business school at all. Or even at the where you open up your business license, it's not a common thing where people are learning about government contracts. How did you get involved?
I started when the market crashed in '07, '08 time frame, working with several successful people that were developers. I was a realtor at the time, and I was going into the development space. We're going to do some development deals down in Miami, back when Miami was affordable. Okay. It's then the market tanked and the rug got pulled from us underneath us. And like a lot of people, I basically there was nothing else going on. I was desperate, and someone told me about government contracts and billions of dollars. And so for me, being a young person at the time in my 20s, I had never heard of billions of dollars of anything. And
Right.
I was able to connect with a gentleman who was aware of government contracting and federal contracting, specifically the 8A program, but didn't know how to access it. And so he brought me along and said, "Hey, if you can figure this thing out, we could be partners and start winning some contracts." And so I basically threw everything I had at it. I had nothing but time.
Mhm.
So I didn't have any money. So I was like, I threw everything I had at it. I'm a prolific reader, student. I taught myself Spanish. I know how to learn stuff. I'm an engineer. I learned Chinese for like 30%. I know I can learn anything. So I just basically just doubled down and spent every waking hour I did absorbing all materials I could on this process. And we started winning some small projects. And so that was the genesis of how I got started.
Awesome. So I know that government contracting is something that could definitely change anybody's life. How did it change your life? What personal impact did it have on you?
So for me, it was great because, and I was just talking to my CFO on the phone right before this call today. And it was interesting because at the time when the real estate market crashed, I was a realtor before I got into contracting and doing development stuff. There was a lot of fraud happening in South Florida. And so we are known in Miami, particularly as Medicare fraud, Medicaid fraud, and at the time, real estate fraud.
Wow.
So it was like, dude, so for someone that has morals and ethics, it's just like a bad environment to operate in. So for me, I was happy to be able to do something where I wasn't subjected to being like in fraud. As my options are you commit fraud or you don't get the deal. And I was like, okay, that's not great. So for me, I was very happy to be in a marketplace where I felt like I could do honest work
Yeah.
and I could serve because again, now you're around soldiers and veterans and military personnel and people who were going to war and people who were protecting our nations. And I just never grew up around people like that, even though both my brothers served. They didn't bring that home with them. And so hearing the impact of some of the missions and what people are doing, that for me was extraordinary because I didn't have a real appreciation for veterans prior to doing government contracting. For me, what it did was one, it provided financial stability for me and my family. Quickly, we started making money. And even without me having prime contracts, I was able to generate enough money as a subcontractor and as a consultant to move into one of the top neighborhoods in Miami as a 20-something-year-old young man. And quickly, I started having people that worked at large organizations wanting to come and work for me, which was very weird considering
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm new to this. I don't know a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
but we had access to contracts and vehicles that they didn't know anything about. And so it put me in a very unique position where I had this somewhat specialized knowledge that the rest of the world didn't have, and I didn't realize the value of it. It sustained me and my family. It put us in the suburbs. We got a way to move from across the track, like we all grew up in. And
Nice.
so now I'm like the Jeffersons, right? Moving up. And
Moving
so,
on.
hey, so I'm in the Jeffersons and we're moving up. And so quickly, all of my friends, my immediate circle, we all moved into government contracts together. There was
Wow.
like four of us.
Yeah.
And so all of us just start climbing up together, start buying bigger cars, better houses. We start
Yeah.
moving to different neighborhoods. And I just watched that. And then our savings grew and then our investments grew. And then all of us got American Express Platinum cards. Like we just all
Wow.
scaled together.
Uh-huh.
And then people start buying luxury cars. Like we were all
Elevation.
like athletes in a sense. We went from like high school athletes to college to getting like NFL deals. And so it got to the point where we were making very significant earnouts that one of the partners of mine said to me, Eric, why don't you just be happy with where we're at? And I'm like, it wasn't the money anymore. It's like, how far can we go? I'm a learner and I'm like, I want to push myself to my capabilities. And
Yeah.
so it wasn't even okay, yes, we have money, but how much further can we go? And so for me, that's where I started to separate from some of my partners because they were like, look, we're doing really well. We're making a bunch of money. We're traveling a lot. Like I was in CrossFit. I was exercising, working out twice a day. I had a six pack. I had a V. Like I was ripped. But I was like, we're bored. Spend 3 hours at the gym every day. Come on, man. You got to be something. And I know that when you look back at it, it seems like a very shallow thing. But I'm like, wow, there's got to be more to life than just being at the gym all day and working out and going to 3 hour lunches. I'm like, we're not doing any work. So if we go to the next steps and push ourselves, how much further can we go?
Yeah.
And so for me, I raised my son off of government contracts. I raised my niece off of government contracts. I've been able to give my family in lot experiences that they never had, going on vacations and villas, and I've traveled the world. And for a minute, I think we went out of the country once a month for 3 years.
Wow. Yeah. Nice lifestyle.
So
Yeah.
we even took it for granted that we had went out so much. Like it wasn't until someone pointed it out. We've been out of the country 2 years straight for every month. And
Yeah.
I didn't even I wasn't tracking it. It was just you want to go out? Yeah, sure. I don't care. You got this weekend off. Yeah, let's go fly here. I'm like, okay. So
I think that's one of the like great hitting benefits of having a successful business, having the freedom to be able to do whatever you want, having a lifestyle, all of that comes with the hard work, right? Because it is still hard work, at least getting started.
you just reminded me of something that I want to share to that. When I did real estate, I made great money. Okay. I was probably making around close to 200,000 a year, let's say. But I worked like a slave.
Oh yeah.
I worked nights, weekends, holidays.
Mhm.
I couldn't date. I was on my phone all the time. People called me in the evenings. I'm at dinners. It
Yeah.
was just disruptive to my life. And I have older parents. My siblings are much older than me. They're in their 60s. My parents in their 80s.
Mhm.
I was raised by my aunt, which was like my mom's sister of 15 years younger. So she was closer in age to a mom to me.
Mhm.
And while I was in real estate, she got cancer. And I had all the money. I could have flown a private jet to see her.
Oh,
And I said, I'm going to wait for my family goes up. My brothers and sisters will all rent a minivan or whatever and drive up.
yeah.
She lived in Jacksonville, which is like a 7 hour drive, 6 hour drive from us. Um, and I remember having a client of mine that I was selling this real estate property. And I said, listen, my aunt's dying with cancer. I want to go spend a couple weeks with her. My
Yeah.
mom had went up there because of her sister. My mom spent the last 3 months with my aunt in her house because she was retired. And I could have done the same thing. And this lady was like the first one to take me to like Busch Gardens and Orlando and like
Mhm.
movie theaters. And yet I had all the money and I didn't spend any time with her final
Wow.
months. And I've held that regret with me for so long
Mhm.
that I made a commitment that anything I do next in life, I will never put my work and money and that before family members and people that are special to me because there was some things that I wanted to tell my aunt that I never got a chance to tell her.
Yeah.
And I live with that regret for the rest of my life. To your point, I made sure that whatever I did moving forward, that I would be able to have the flexibility to
Mhm.
spend time with the people that I cared about. And so money
So
didn't do it for
powerful.
me.
So
Yeah.
powerful. And in essence, it looks like having a government contracting business enabled you to be able to
Absolutely. Yeah.
now
Yeah.
choose family over
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
money
And
will
again,
come.
yeah, no, yeah, no, look, when I go through my journey and my ups and downs, and the reason why I even did the YouTube was because I just decided to put people before money.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thinking of you
No,
too.
I did. I decided to do that. And that's why every day I wake up and I'm excited. I'm happy. I love life.
Yeah.
I have a zest for it. So I rarely ever have bad days.
I love that about you because your aura is always the same, right? Like
Yeah.
you have a very positive energy source and everything like that. So you can absolutely feel that you enjoy what you do.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
feel that. So speaking of you do it for the people, let's talk about GovCon Giants.
Sure.
Like, when did you decide that this is something that I also want to empower other people with? Because sometimes, especially in our culture, people get information, they run with it, and they become the gatekeeper. They don't want to share information. This is my secret thing,
Yeah.
right? But what made you decide to create your program in GovCon Giants?
So when I started doing this, like I said, a lot of people ask me about how did you do it? How did you start? And I knew early on, even when I first started as a newbie, I was like, nobody's teaching people how to do this stuff. I can show you whiteboard pic like 2008, 2009, teaching our internal staff about government contracting based on all the books I learned. By the time I got to SBA classes, I could answer all the questions.
Yeah.
I was like, I already figured all this stuff out. And so I already knew that at some point I would teach it. I didn't know when the right time was, but after having gone through on the brink of multiple lawsuits and bankruptcy, when I restarted back in GovCon 2011, 2012, I got some big contracts with some good strategic partners. And so I decided that this was the time because I had a 2-year contract. It was like $5 million and I was getting checks every month and I didn't have to actually go out and do the work. And so I said, okay, I could travel the world or I could start my ambitious dream of helping other people. And so I felt like one would be more fulfilling than the other. Yeah, I travel the world and I get that experience, but then that's fleeting. And
Yeah.
I said, if I build a platform and a community of people that were teaching and training, I think that would be more long term. And so that's what I did. But 2017 is my first full year. And I say first full year teaching because I've had content before that, but
Yeah.
my first full year where I dedicated to teaching on YouTube.
Awesome. So what have been some of the key pillars that you teach people about who are looking to get started in this particular space?
Yeah, for me, my key pillars are uh, understanding your business, right? I find a lot of people in our community they're clouded in their minds. And I go, if you're clouded in your head, you can't articulate what you want. And so then it's hard for any one of us to help you.
Yeah.
So I people understanding where you want to go and then understanding the business that you're getting into and then understanding what's involved in building and owning a business because I think we don't have a lot of experience and a lot of know-how in that. And so we get into things right with these false expectations, these limiting beliefs. And so I get it. There's a lot of noise out here, a lot of people telling a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But I just say, look for people who've done what you're trying to do and then follow them.
Absolutely.
That's my pillars of everything that I do in life. I go, look, even for myself, right?
Mhm.
If I want to go out and start buying real estate, right? I'm going to look for somebody who bought real estate. That just makes sense to me. And I
Mhm.
think in our community, so many people don't do that. So we get taken advantage of because we're not saying, okay, let's go look at Dr. Karwanna and see, okay,
Yeah.
this person clearly knows, let's spend time and energy with them as opposed to someone who works at, let's say, a PTech or Apex Accelerator who's never done this before, who's given us
Right.
advice based on their 40-hour salary job position,
Yeah.
but they've never actually been in the arena.
Yeah.
That's some of the pillars that I've learned over the years
Mhm. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I would share.
Interesting because I believe the same thing. If, like you said, if you want to go somewhere, find someone who's been there or is there right now to teach you,
Right.
as opposed to someone who's behind a desk, probably reading the script and they don't know the first thing about business. Because I don't know how many times you've heard like misdirected information from like a P-Tech. Not saying that it's not a good place for some resources, but you just gotta weigh the information.
Yeah, no, and I don't want to pick on the PTAC
Right.
or the Apex Accelerator
Apex
people,
now.
but it's
Yeah.
just that they have such a big voice in this community, that's typically where most people start. And if you never heard of them, start there. I always tell my people, start there first. Don't give me any money. Start with Apex first and see what they talk about. And then get all the information you can on them and then start talking to people like us.
Yeah. So you have a slogan about teaching everyday people how to win these extraordinary contracts. Can you share some of the examples of extraordinary contracts that you've been able to help your students win?
Yeah, for me, the guy who mentored me in the beginning, and again, like I said, my content's not for everyone. I don't think your content's for everyone. None of us is for everyone. Just when I say this, take it with a grain of salt. But he told me, Eric, look, and this was applied to a particular story of a friend of his who, when I was getting my contractor's license to become a general contractor in the state of Florida,
Mhm.
his best friend, who actually was the person who helped sign off on my license to get approved, he was doing residential house remodeling. And most of us have said, yeah, start small and do that, and then you work your way up. And he said to me, don't do that. Start big, and that will be your floor.
Yes.
And so I've carried that model with me moving forward in all of my teachings and trainings to the people that follow my guidance. And I said, that's the model that I've operated from.
Mhm.
Whether it was ignorant or dumb, I don't know any better, but that's what I teach people because
Yeah.
I know what the community teaches us, but there is no Fortune 100 Black billionaires list.
Yeah.
And that's for a reason.
Right.
You can't name all the white billionaires. You can't even name them.
Mhm.
You can't name all the white deca millionaires. You can't name all the white centimillionaires.
Mhm.
They didn't practice that philosophy. Along the way, in my journey, I started saying, look, let's start off with the federal government. It's different than state and local government, but it may be longer to figure it out. I'm not saying it's a faster path, right? Clearly, local and state is much faster path to understand it, to get a grasp of it, and to start working in it.
Mhm.
But if you learn federal, which is the bigger fish, the bigger pond to play in, and you master that, you will have an unfair advantage against everyone else.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's what I teach. And so going back to some of the examples, we have, so recently, our most recent contract win was for a client of ours. We did a Burger King renovation. It was $1 million win at Andrews Air Force Base.
Mhm.
We are negotiating projects now, sole source contracts, $2 to $5 million right now with different small business partners that we have that we've connected with some of our large strategic partners.
Mhm.
Look, for my consulting firm that advises companies that want to get into the federal space, we're probably going to put in this month about $100 million in bids.
Mhm. Wow. The money is out. It's there, right?
I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying we're going to win them,
But you're putting it out there. The effort is there. Yeah.
but how many people do you know that look like us that put
Yeah.
$100 million in bids in a month?
Yeah.
I just won an IDIQ Monday, 5 million up in the Northeast United States. We're doing work in Manhattan, New York. It's I honestly I can't even keep up. But let's go to some of my students. We've got students now. Chris Facey, he won a contract for transportation logistics. It was an IDIQ just for people who are foot tracking.
Mhm.
21 million. So you don't get 21 million. But on the task order side, he did about 2.5 million in task orders.
Yeah.
When he came to me, he had no employees. And so I've got another student of mine. She was working as the people that go and sell liquors to restaurants and they go promote liquor brands. And that was what she was doing. And now she's doing 3 million a year in terms of sales. But again, we start in the federal arena. And so it's easier for me to have those kind of success stories when I'm working with people in the federal arena because like we talked about, the contracts are bigger, opportunities are bigger. And no, you can't do all this stuff on your own. No, these people are not doing this on their own at
Right.
all. So I'm not trying to allude to that at all. But
Mhm.
what we do is we say, hey, my thing is rich people are very greedy. And the bigger the opportunity, the bigger the partner that you can find and want to work with you on that opportunity that will help facilitate that contract for you. And so that's what I was able to do. And that's what I teach my people is that's why I don't teach products. I don't teach state and I don't teach local contracting.
Mm.
We do have some people in our group that done substantial contracts and product sales. They're far few and in between, but they knew that specialty, right? They knew aviation parts, their pilots. They had that they had some of that inside of them. They knew the people because they work on planes. Like that's their
Yeah.
space.
Right.
So they had that specialty. But for most people, particularly in our communities, we're service-based, we're service-oriented, right? We do janitorial services, we do facilities maintenance, we do those are our historically, when you look at right, just the data, that's the areas that we're in, things that have low impact, right? We're not building weapon systems, we're not designing highways, we're not designing bridges, we're not in those rooms. We're in the other places where we, for the lack of better words, we can't screw stuff up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Saying we just can't screw up stuff. That's all. And so I just talk to people about how do you put together a group of people collectively, right, to satisfy the requirement and solve the problem that the government has.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, we've had right now, we're probably, I haven't looked at the latest data, we're probably about $50 million in contracts with student wins last year.
That's awesome. Amazing. And it looks like it's more about teamwork and collaborations, which is very key, especially when you want to really grow and scale and have the long-term sustainability and not just like little one-offs, which are cool too. But if you're for the long game, then it's about partnerships.
Yeah. And again, it's not for everyone because it's really hard. So I want to preface that with it's hard.
Yeah.
Look, again, my friend does local contracts. He kills it on local contracts. Like he's the number one guy or number two guy in Miami-Dade County for electrical AC work for the county.
Yeah.
Got a bunch of investment properties, lives amazing, very successful.
Yeah.
But he works really hard. So it's easier to get the contracts, but he physically works harder. So his contracts, so it's such a different risk reward profile.
I think it's a different world because on the local ones, it's not like you can consult and outsource the work. So you
gotta work. Right.
Yeah. So then your time becomes limited. The amount of contracts you can land becomes limited and all those different things. So I love that you really push and promote, get started in the federal contracting space. You've always been that voice for the federal contracting space because now you actually can free yourself through partnerships, strategic partnerships, and leverage other people's time. It's definitely a different world, right?
That was important to me. Remember my story. So that was important for me.
You wanted your time. Yeah.
I wanted my time. I could do city contracts all day here in my local areas, but they expect to see my face.
Exactly. Yeah.
I did this deal at Andrews Air Force Base. I ain't never been at Andrews Air Force Base.
See.
Listen, I didn't even know we won the project. Somebody had to tell me that we won the project.
Wow. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
But you can do that in that arena.
Yeah.
Like you said. So that's the differences for me.
I love it. So let's talk about 50 million in just 1 year of wins, right? Student wins.
That's important for me.
Student wins, right? Students. So your goal is helping 200 companies achieve 5 million in revenue with $1 billion impact. Can you talk about that a little bit? Your vision?
Yeah. So our goal is to take people, build them up to $5 million in revenues. And so we've successfully done it. I think we've done about 30 people now.
Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you're enjoying it. I wanted to take some time to invite you to join me in the GovCon Challenge. The GovCon Challenge takes place once a month where I invite a bunch of entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs to come and have me teach you the 5 things you must do to pre-qualify your business to land lucrative contracts with the government. So join me in the GovCon Challenge. Click on the link in the description. You'll be glad you did. Join as VIP for exclusive behind-the-scenes information, and you could become a part of the top 1% of entrepreneurs across the nation. Now back to the video you were watching.
And so actually they're trying to get me to push their goal up to 300 companies, but we've done that. And so everything that I'm doing is with that mission in mind. Everything that I do behind the scenes and publicly is with that through the prism of helping those 200 people or 300 people now get the 5 million revenue. Whether that is the trainings that we're doing, we're now hosting an annual conference that we're doing. We are speaking at conferences now. We are building platforms that brings on expert coaches and trainers to give people all of the things, the areas that I'm one guy. So I only, my knowledge base is the tip of this pen. But if I bring you hundreds of people, then the knowledge base expands. And so it's me spending my time going out and finding those other experts, teachers, coaches, and trainers, bringing them to the platform, getting them to commit to helping provide consult and education information to our community at a very affordable cost, if not at no cost at all. And so that's how I'm going to be able to do that. So everything that I do on a day in and day out basis is to create the infrastructure to be able to support those next 200-300 people doing the $5 million in revenue.
Awesome. So what are some of the biggest misconceptions about government contracting that you hear in the marketplace, that you've heard, that most small business entrepreneur, they're like, I want to work with you, and what myths do you want to bust up?
The government pays slow.
Yes, talk about it. Let's talk about that. Because I hear that as well. Okay.
People say the government pays slow. I think that going back to the myths, a lot of the information people are getting is secondhand, third hand, fourth hand. They're not even qualifying this information.
Right.
They didn't even have the experience to qualify it.
Yeah.
So someone told you this who doesn't do government contracts.
Right.
Who is not even giving you firsthand information. And then let's say that they gave you firsthand information. You didn't even qualify, you didn't even ask the right questions to know what was the circumstances of surrounding that. For me, I think that we've got to ask better questions. Yeah. If someone said to me, hey, Eric, the government pays slow, the first thing I'm going to say, state, federal, local. Next thing I'm going to say, were you a prime or a sub? And then the third thing I'm going to say, did you have your paperwork done right and on time? That's how I'm going to qualify them.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's the series I'm going to take people through. I'm not going to take anybody's word at face value, because people are liars, they're manipulators, they're cheats, they're schemers, and people will like to give information in a way to have a cognitive bias, to take you down the path they want you to believe. Yeah. So true. And so when you just press back and ask them intelligent questions, they will fold. Yeah. So interesting that you said that, because this is the exact same thing. Someone recently asked me, hey, I heard the government pays late, because her friend had an experience. And those are the same questions that I were like, was it local, state, federal? Did they pay on time? Did they invoice on time? Deliver the service? Like, did they? Yeah. Right. Yeah. There's some circumstances that they're not telling you. So it's not that they pay slow. It's just sometimes you didn't do your part. You didn't do your part. And so there's reflection that you didn't do your part.
So in your experience, what are some of the biggest challenges that people who are entering into this space find as a hurdle?
They don't know their business.
Yeah.
People just don't know their business. People don't know how to run a business. I think that our community is under the impression that having a certification is learning how to run a business.
It's not. Far from it.
So we think that having a certification qualifies us to run a business, and it doesn't. Yeah. And I think that I've found that the majority of people that I run into have no idea what's involved in running a business. And I can't teach that. I don't teach people how to run businesses. That's not what I do. Maybe you do that. I don't do that.
I'm not interested. Like, I used to do that, so I understand the stress and the strain that comes. Like, no, I can show you how to scale, but no, I'm not teaching.
Yeah, I don't teach you how to run a business. And so for me, I think in our community, we just don't know how to run businesses. And people knock me, Eric, what are we supposed to learn? Nobody ain't taught us that. I get it. So go out there and get some bumps somewhere, right? And then come back. I'm not telling you, I'm not knocking you for taking the first steps. That's what we're here to support, encourage, promote people to their highest and best selves. But that's one of the things that I face all the time. Not knowing how to run a business. Number two, like I said before, not having a clear path of thoughts of where they want to go.
Yeah.
And so if you can't tell me where you want to go, how can I tell you how to get there?
Right.
And then the other thing is having poverty mindset friends and family.
Yeah.
I think that's been one of the biggest challenges that I've seen with people is that their friends and family, their immediate circle is poverty mindset. So people say, oh, this guy is scamming you, this person's scamming you. Okay, well, check people's credentials.
Yeah.
One thing I always tell anybody, I'm very public about the events I'm attending.
Yeah.
Come see me in real life.
Right.
I want you to see me in real life. I want you to see me in the rooms that I'm talking about and see me in action.
Yeah.
I said, first of all, I can't publicize everything. I ain't that great. Like, I'm not Drake. I ain't got no camera crew following me around to go tell you my everyday life, what I'm doing. I just don't have that kind of bandwidth.
Yeah.
So I give people glimpses into the things that I'm doing. But on our website, federalhelpcenter.com, all of my events that I'm attending are listed. Come. I be in Atlanta, I be in Dallas, I be in San Antonio. I be in Virginia. Come see me in real life and see me how we move and how we operate. And then you'll get a glimpse of what we're doing. I just think that people really need to up their circle. You gotta pick up your big boy pants, cut off your friends, cut off your family, cut off these people that are telling you that it's not possible, cut off the dream assassins, right? Get them out of your life, get in some books, read some books from billionaires, right? Study billionaires, study wealth, study financial assets, and change your philosophies. And then get out here and go kick butt. It's really that easy.
Yeah.
But if you're around some people that are dragging you down every day, telling you what can't be done, focusing on what the news is saying, and like worried about what's happening with Trump and his court case.
Right.
I'll be honest with you. And listen, this may rub people the wrong way. I don't know none of that stuff. I didn't know about the Hawaii fires. I don't know about none of that stuff. I didn't even know the NBA playoffs was going on.
Yeah.
And I like basketball. But I didn't know. I said it's a playoffs. That's how lost I am to the rest of the world. So people need to get out of the matrix.
I love it.
All this stuff is a trap. It's entrapping your mind, which is the biggest asset you have, with foolishness. Yeah. I don't care about the Kentucky Derby. I don't care about Formula One racing. I don't care about the NFL. Them people got money.
Yeah.
We are the ones that have lack. We're the ones that look up our average savings, our average earnings, our average wealth, and we're the ones that are struggling on every metric. We have high blood pressure, heart rate disease. We got everything bad, nothing good, and we worried about everybody else stuff. I'm not worried about them people. I don't care about the Drake battle, nothing. I don't care what Elon Musk talking about. I don't care about Jeff Bezos and his boats. Why do people? I don't even know why people say that stuff.
I didn't even know he had boats. Okay.
People, listen, do me a favor. If you know me, they do not send that stuff to my phone, you will get blocked.
Yeah.
I'm in one chat with my family members and I tell them stop sending that stuff in the family chat. Cause I don't even know how to get out because it's on regular messaging. I can't even get out the family chat. But anybody knows me, I tell them, don't send me the stuff in the news. I don't need the news. I don't have it on my phone. I don't have my computers.
Yeah.
I totally don't want you texting it to me. We are caught up in the madness of everything that's going on. School shootings. Why you need to know about school shooting? They don't care. They go killing people again. You know what? They're not going to ban guns. They're not going to take them away. Nobody's going to pass no new laws. So why are you getting all upset about it? Yeah. You might as well say kill the kids. That's the way I look at it. Tell people just go ahead and kill them because that's the way they're acting anyways. So I don't get myself absorbed in that.
Yeah.
I was at a restaurant in Virginia having breakfast with a lady. A bird hit the window. The whole freaking restaurant stopped and look at that stupid bird. They gonna say the bird.
Yeah.
I kept eating my food. I like that. People are gonna say, Eric, this is shallow thinking. You should care about the bird. Why? Why should I care about the bird? I ain't no biologist or marine, and I'm not.
Yeah.
But people act like all this stuff matters, and none of it matters. And while their family's suffering, their marriage is suffering, their relationship suffering, their finances suffering, they're going to be kicked out of their place. We don't know what's behind any of the people's agendas.
Yeah.
We never learn about it till 30 years later till they reveal what was the truth
What
behind the
Yeah.
operation. Look at what happened with 9/11. Look what happened with all these things. You know what I'm worried about? Our veterans, protecting our veterans. I'm
Yeah.
worried about people that go serve for our country.
Yeah.
I'm worried about how do we support them? How do we help them? That's what I'm worried about. How do we keep our nation safe? How do we keep our borders safe? That's
Yeah.
what I'm worried about. That's the stuff you want to talk to me about. Something. Talk to me about if a person sent their kid to go and protect our freedoms. How do we ensure that when that person comes back here, that we take care of them to the utmost ability? How do
Yes.
we make sure ensure that person gets all the resources that they need,
Yeah.
all the care that they need? That's who I'm worried about.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about LeBron James winning a trophy.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the race car driver going around the track. I'm just telling you,
That's true.
because this is the kind of stuff people talk to me about. Eric, it's a Formula One race. I don't give a nothing about no Formula One. What I got to do with me?
Yeah.
Eric, it's Kentucky Derby. What I got to do with me?
Yeah.
So we're caught up in all this stuff. Oh, so I promise you, I was eating at a restaurant this week with some of my neighbors here. Now they out of touch, so I ain't gonna lie, they all out of touch.
Yeah.
There's some movie coming out in December, and they said, Eric, there's a movie coming out in December. Do you want to go? I said, in December? You're planning for a movie in December. With all the stuff going on in the world, they were trying to plan and coordinate something in December to go see a movie. This is how our brains have been caught up so much into the BS that we can't even focus on, like we said, the starving kids, the people that don't have housing, the homeless crisis, the drug crisis, all the big issues. The fact that we're going to run out of Social Security, Medicaid in whatever, 15 years. What about those things?
Yeah.
We're being distracted by all the noise.
Very distracted.
That's what I see that people keep falling into.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at stuff, and that's the way I am. So when people say, hey, how do you get so much done in a day? Because I don't have noise. I tune it all out. My TV only comes on at night, like 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm having these kind of conversations with high-level people like yourself. I'm educating and learning how to continue to foster good work. You have to be honed in on to what you want. That's how you're able to achieve basically outpace success, Alex Hormozi type of success.
Yeah.
Put in the work.
Yeah. Truly spoken from a highly successful entrepreneur, right? Clear focus, basically. And I do absolutely notice as well. I think that the problem is most people don't know that they're distracted. They think that it's normal. It's become the norm, right? Because programming starts in school. It starts in school, then you go home and it's on television, and then it's on the radio, and it's in all the rules and all these things. And so where does a person even begin to unprogram themselves? Because sometimes, and you probably run into this, sometimes even if a person decides, hey, I'm going to invest in myself, I'm going to learn this government contracting thing so I can really grow a business. But then because of all those things that you just mentioned, it's really hard for them to get results.
They got to cut off I told you, cut off your friends, families, and negative influences. Surround yourself with people that think differently, that are in that space. Join communities like the communities that we have with people that do this every day. I've got a platform, federalhelpcenter.com. Join that platform. It's free. Being there with people that are doing this, that are winning, and listeners, be encouraged by them, not by the naysayers that you hear in the streets. Get away from those people. Run far away. Jim Rohn said, if you end up at, again, right outside where I live out here, there's an Irish pub bar. Same people there every day. So if you spend your time at the bars, you're going to be around drunkards.
Right. So true.
So if you spend your time around highly successful people, you're going to be with highly successful people. So I think they got to change their environments. And most of us don't want to make that commitment to change our environment.
Right.
My son in his 20s moved to Boca, one of the wealthiest places here in South Florida, where all the old rich money people live. He's got a roommate, but so anyone could do it. It's not, you don't have to come out here and try to say, oh, I can't afford to live there. Yes, you can. Yeah. Listen, when I lived in Miami downtown in a high rise, I did not know this, but many of these girls that people see that are young girls living in these high rises, they're 3-4 people in an apartment.
Yeah.
They don't pay that rent on their own. So guess what? Anyone could do it. So you can put yourself in that environment to be around the kind of people that you want to surround yourself with. Yeah, you got to make a little bit of sacrifice. But guess what? I see people all the time that I tell them when they complain about the prices of anything that I offer, I said, you probably got very expensive shoes. People bought guns that you like. People buy, you don't ask me when you bought your $50,000 truck.
Yeah.
When you paying $900 a month in car payments or $1,000 a month car payment, that's ridiculous. We got people out here paying $1,400 a month in car payments
Yeah.
for a used beat up car because they had bad credit, poor decisions. They probably traded a car that was upside down. You know what our community does?
Right. Yeah, of
They
course.
got taken off by buy here, pay here,
Yeah.
just like the sub-tier mortgages. So subprime mortgages. So we're getting scammed all the way for making a bunch of poor decisions, and we keep compounding that. And so
Right.
it just leads to a lifestyle of poverty and not being able to essentially climb out that hole. So for me, I always say you got to be around and around successful people. And
Yeah.
so that would be the first steps to basically making a change is change your environment, change the people around, and then change your input, changing the stuff that you take in. I walk 5 miles a day. I listen to podcasts from Lewis Howes. I listen to Tim Ferriss. I listen to Alex Hormozi. I listen to Gary Vee.
Mhm.
Those are my inputs. So change your inputs, and that will change your output.
I love it. Business owners that are out there trying to figure it out on their own, what are they missing out on?
They can't take advantage of years of shared knowledge and information. Everyone in the past has had mentors and coaches. We've had apprenticeship programs going back to the early years of history, right? We've always had apprenticeship. Even before we had formal education, people went in apprenticeship programs. There's movies in Japan where you can watch about like the top sushi chefs who had to study under apprentice for 50 years or 40 years before they could become a top chef. So I think that they're not even leveraging the history of society and how people have been taught and trained to be able to do these amazing feats in their lifetime. Because some of these things, if you try doing it on, it would take a lifetime to accomplish. So if you don't want to take a lifetime to try to achieve your goals, you got to find a mentor or apprentice.
Absolutely. I definitely appreciate all of the nuggets, the insightful information, your expertise and knowledge on today. And what final message or advice would you give to our audience, particularly for small businesses owners that are looking to break into the government contracting space?
Yeah, listen, I think that a lot of times what I found is people don't love themselves. I say you got to love yourself more. And Jim Rohn, again, I love Jim Rohn. That's why I quote and recite him all the time. He says that the world does not demand of you good health. You must demand that of yourself. The world does not demand of you wealth and riches. You must demand that of yourself. And so I would tell everybody out there to love yourself more, right? Love yourself enough to put down the extra burger, put down the fries, stop patronizing places that are poisoning you health wise,
Mhm.
that are taking advantage of you financially wise,
Mhm.
that are not pouring into you spiritual wise, that are not giving back to you mentally, and start basically loving yourself enough to invest in the right food, the right health, the right exercise plan, the right plan even when it comes to your relationships, right? Whether it's personal, professional, because I think we suffer from, like you said, historically, from people who've taken from us, pillaged us, abused us. And so we seem to have that victims attraction to those same types of folks. And
Yeah.
so we've got to get away from that and put ourselves in a better place spiritually, emotionally, so that we can earn financially. It just doesn't happen overnight. So I would encourage everyone, love yourself more than people like myself, Dr. Karwanna does, where we care enough to give our time, our energy to all of your efforts. So I would just encourage everyone to love yourself more, care about yourself more, care about the time that you have on here because it is short-lived. And I left the speech last Virginia. You don't have, for many of us, we don't even have 20 summers left. And so we don't realize it. They said on the Western society, we have life dysmorphia. So we think that we can live forever. And the reality is that's not true. So love yourself more is what I want to leave you with.
Awesome. All right, Mr. Eric Coffie, the godfather of government contracts. I'm gonna keep saying that. So you
Hey,
just have to accept it.
hey, baby.
uh,
Listen, that's what we do.
definitely connected with him in the show notes. We're gonna leave all of his socials as well as how you can reach out to work and connect with Eric Coffie. But thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate everything you're doing. I appreciate you guys for even listening, taking time out of your schedule to hear this conversation. So thank you guys for making a commitment on yourself.